The sound of the postman's bicycle bay was the most dangerous sound in Adesewa's world. Dangerous because every time it rang, her heart jumped, even if he was only dropping a bill at the neighbor's gate. That afternoon, she heard it first before anyone else. She dropped the basket of vegetables she was peeling and ran to the window. Sewa, one Tunde o? Her younger sister Damilola called with a laugh. The postman's here again. You want to fly out of your skin just for one letter? Adesewa shot her a look but said nothing. She was already at the gate holding her breath. And there it was. A long, brown envelope. Her name written in Tunde's neat handwriting. Miss Adesewa Oladipo. Her hands shook as she held it. It smelled faintly of dust and ink, but to her it smelled of him, of Lagos. She pressed it to her chest before even opening it. Mama, Damilola shouted into the house. She has another one. Tunde has written again. Their mother came out with folded laundry. She didn't smile. She only shook her head. Letter upon letter. Adesewa, don't let paper fool you, Lagos men. Their promises are like smoke. But Sewa wasn't listening. She had already torn the flap. Sewa me, it began. Lagos is loud, restless, full of light. But in every crowded bus and noisy street, it's your face I see. I promise you, when I make it here, I'll send for you. Until then, let these letters carry my voice to your heart. Her lips curved despite herself. She read it once, then again, then a third time, drinking the words like cool water on a hot day. That evening, she sat under the old mango tree and read it aloud to her cousin, who teased, Sewa, maybe you should frame this one by your bed. She laughed softly but tucked the paper close, as if someone might steal it. The letters kept coming. Tunde wrote about the factory where he worked, the roar of the machines, sweat stinging his eyes, supervisors barking in half English, half Yoruba. He wrote about Danfo buses that rattled like they would fall apart, and the endless traffic that tested his patience. But always, he ended with her. When the Lagos sun burns too hot, I think of you shading me with your laughter. When I eat bread and beans by the roadside, I imagine you beside me, scolding me for not eating proper food. Sewa always wrote back. Her pages were full of life in Ibadan, her mother's yam harvest, market women arguing over pepper, the mango tree blooming outside their gate. She teased him too. Don't forget the taste of real amala. When you return, I'll cook it myself. But not everyone was charmed. At the well, girls whispered, Lagos men forget quickly. Her aunt muttered, a girl must not waste her youth waiting on smoke. Even her mother, folding clothes one quiet evening, sighed, my daughter, you can't wait forever. Be wise. Still, Sewa's heart leapt at every trin of the bicycle bell. The letters were her proof, her promise. And yet, even as she smiled at his words, she began to notice the spaces between them growing longer, like shadows stretching when the sun starts to fall. Weeks passed, and the letters slowed. At first, she thought nothing of it. Tunde had told her early on how busy Lagos was, how the city never seemed to sleep. He wrote about wide streets where cars moved like restless ants, about noise that carried even at midnight, about leaving home before dawn and coming back when the sun was gone. But now, the words were fewer. The last letter had only 2 short paragraphs, as if rushed. No stories about Balogun Market, no sketches of crowded buses, no tender confessions of how her name stayed in his chest like a song. Just short lines about work, about being tired, and a promise to write again soon. But soon stretched into weeks. Every market day, Sewa stopped by the small post office by the main road, her heart pounding with both hope and dread. The postmaster, an old man with weak eyes, would shake his head before she even asked, "Not today, Sewa." She would smile faintly, though inside her chest an ache grew. She walked home past the mango tree and tried to imagine sitting under it with Tunde again, his laughter in the air, his hand warm in hers. But the tree only stood tall and silent. Her mother noticed the change. One evening, as they pounded yam together, her mother said softly, "You don't laugh like before. Your mind is far away." Sewa pressed her lips together. What could she say? That she feared Lagos had swallowed the boy she loved, that she felt herself fading from his life like a photograph left too long in the sun. Late at night, she lit her lantern and wrote letters anyway. Page after page, she told him about her days, how she swept the compound, how the neighbor's goat gave birth to twins. She always ended the same way, "I wait for you." But some of those letters she never sent. One she folded carefully and tucked under her pillow. That one was different. It wasn't about goats or neighbors or markets. It was raw. Her heart spilled onto the page. "Tunde, do you still think of me when the city lights blind you? Do you remember my laughter when the noise of Lagos drowns your thoughts? Or has another girl stolen your time, your pen, your heart? I'm afraid, Tunde. Afraid that while I wait, the city takes you further from me." When she finished, her hands trembled. Ink stained her fingers, but she didn't care. She blew out the lantern and lay in the dark, listening to drums beating far away from another compound. The letter stayed unsent, hidden under her pillow like a secret prayer. And still, no word came from Lagos. Until one day, the envelope was thicker than usual, its corners smudged, the paper worn from travel. Sewa's hand shook as she tore it open, and 2 letters slid into her lap. The first was dated nearly a month ago. Tunde's handwriting leaned tiredly across the page. He admitted how hard Lagos had been, the long hours at the factory, the noise that never ended, the loneliness pressing down on him. He confessed temptations were everywhere, the kind that could swallow a young man whole. But he ended with a vow. "I hold on to you, Sewa, like breath itself." The second letter was newer, the ink still sharp. It pulsed with urgency. He apologized for the silence and begged her not to doubt him. "I have not forgotten. I will not forget." At the bottom, folded neatly, lay a bus ticket to Lagos. Sewa stared until her eyes blurred. Relief and fear fought in her chest. She pressed both letters to her heart, the ticket between them like a fragile promise. That evening, as she swept the compound, her mother stepped out, tying her wrapper tighter against the evening chill. "Sewa," she said softly, "the teacher came again today. He is patient, that one. He says he will wait, but not forever." Sewa's broom stilled. "Mama." Her mother's eyes softened but stayed firm. "This Lagos boy. Months of silence, and now one ticket. Is that enough to build a life on? A woman needs stability. Love alone cannot fill the cooking pot." Sewa's throat burned. She wanted to shout that Tunde was not just this Lagos boy, but her mother wouldn't see him as anything else. Her mother stepped closer, resting a hand on her shoulder. "I know your heart leans toward him. I was young once too. But sometimes love is a fire that burns fast and leaves only ash. The teacher offers something steady, something that won't vanish when the city calls him away." Sewa lowered her gaze, her fingers tightening around the ticket hidden in her wrapper. She thought of Tunde's tired words, then his hopeful ones. Was he just a flicker in the wind, or a fire worth keeping alive no matter the storm? Later, lying on her mat, she whispered into the dark, Lagos is calling. And at dawn, with her mother's sigh still heavy in her ears, Sewa climbed onto a crowded bus, letters pressed close, ticket warm in her hand. The engine roared, the road opened before her. She didn't know if it would lead to love, heartbreak, or a new version of herself. But she went.